What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian. And tonight is the night. It is game 6 back in Madison Square Garden as the Celtics are trying to do the improbable, which is to go down 3-1, to lose their best player to a catastrophic injury, to lose arguably their third best player to what I don't know is happening to Kristaps Porzingis, and yet force a game 7. The Celtics battled valiantly in game 5 in Boston and were able to, behind Jaylen Brown and Derek White, force another game. And now with the real challenges here, right? It's easy to, well, not easy, but it's easier to hold home court and get that W when your back's against the wall. Desperation is there. But now you have to go back to game 6. Now you are back on the road. New York will now feel a little sense of desperation, right? Because game 5 is a little different. Like, New York's like, all right, we know we can finish this out in the Garden. It would be the first time the Knicks have closed out a series in Madison Square Garden, and I think in a very long time. I can't even remember the year. It's been a while. But we'll see what goes down tonight. The biggest wrinkle, though, that we've seen is the Green Cornet, Luka Cornet, right? We saw him move into the starting lineup in that second half for the Celtics last game, where he dropped, what was it, 5 blocks in the third quarter, almost had a triple-double, had like 10 points, 9 boards, and 7 blocks. Well, Missoula, in yesterday's off day, mentioned that they should expect to see a lot more of Luke Cornett. Now, the biggest question will be, like, do the Knicks have answers for this, right? Luke Cornett has been just so much better for the Celtics in this series, in the postseason in general. We haven't seen him get those minutes, though, up until now, unless people were out, right? So I think to just see his play and, like, Porzingis' lack thereof play, get Cornett back into the starting lineup is pretty interesting. And I wonder, like, with the Knicks having a day to study tape, are they going to throw different looks at the Celtics? One of the things that I thought was very impressive from Boston's side of things is the way they defended New York. And the Knicks, their offense seemed all out of sorts. And there were a couple of reasons I think that happened. But one of them was the switch in the big man, because Porzingis really was just kind of lost out there. You could tell he didn't have the juice. He didn't know, like, wasn't moving right, couldn't even keep his hands up for the most part. And so now to have somebody like Luke Cornett who can actually rim protect on one end and rim run on the other. I think that was another surprising aspect for the Celtics, was that Cornett was impacting them on the offensive side of things too. He went 5 for 5 from the field, but really it was the pick and roll game where he was just kind of doing those slip screens, sliding to the rim, and was getting some decent looks over there. And that was opening things up for other players on the Celtics team. So again, though, I'm curious to see now, with the Knicks having some tape and some time to look at how the Celtics played without Tatum, what kind of adjustments the Knicks make. I would imagine we see a little bit more of a succinct offense, because again, that Knicks offense was just a dumpster fire. They were going, like, they honestly, they looked like the fourth quarter Celtics from game 1 and game 2. It was a lot of dribble, 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 chuck a 3, dribble, 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 maybe one pass, chuck a 3, and it was a ton of Brunson falling down. Brunson, I gotta tell you, listen. I'm not anti Brunson. All right, I'm not even gonna go Mr. Foul baiting. You remember when Joel Embiid's in the playoffs for the 76ers, and everyone's like, man, that guy falls down a lot. Brunson's like a mini me version of Joel Embiid when it comes to falling down. It's a lot of falling down. But anyways, well, excited to see Luke Cornett get his first start, and I can't remember how long. Definitely his first playoff start, unless there was just, massive injuries, right? So curious to see how that wrinkle from Game 5 translates to Game 6. And another wrinkle that we saw was a little small ball from the Boston Celtics. They were running out these 3-guard lineups, right? So you'd have Peyton Pritchard on the floor alongside Drew Holiday as your backcourt. Derek White playing like the 3, I guess. Then you'd have Jaylen Brown at the 4, and then one of Luke Cornett or Al Horford at the 5. And it just seemed like it brought a ton of pace and space for the Celtics, right? That's kind of shooting. If it's Al on the floor, that's shooting 1 through 5. And if it's Cornett on the floor, it's still 4 shooters. And you were seeing the Celtics doing a really good job of just kind of slicing and dicing. There was a lot of cutting, a lot of off-ball movement. There was one possession, or 2 different possessions I wanted to highlight specifically. There was one where Peyton Pritchard got the ball. And listen, our guy Fast PP, 6th man of the year, loves to chuck some threes, right? Had the ball. It looked like he was going to dribble right into like a corner, not a corner 3, but like an above the break 3. And then he kind of just dives into the lane and then swings it out to Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday knocks down the three. He had the wide open look. There was another possession not too long after that. Jaylen Brown, same thing, where it just had like a clean look if he wanted it, but then found a better look too. I think Drew Holiday. I think these were both of Drew's threes, and then Drew steps in, knocks down his second three of the game. You were just seeing a little bit more of an efficient offense. Now, same thing, right? With the Knicks making their adjustments with Luke Cornett on the floor. I wonder if the Knicks are now going to be able to look at this three-guard lineup and be like, okay, there are ways to attack this. I would suspect we see a little bit more big man Karl Anthony Towns. And Cat, who is actually after his, I think game one it was, where he had like 13 points and 14 boards or something like that. After that game one experience, I don't think, I mean, I think he's been pretty solid, and I think we're going to get a pretty big Cat game. Both he and Jalen Brunson were just, marred in foul trouble that entire game, with Brunson fouling out, but both of them, or I'm sorry, Cat had three in like the first 13 minutes of the game, and then Brunson, we know, picked up 5 in the third quarter. But I suspect we're going to see a little bit more Karl Anthony Towns. And but the flip side of this, when you're looking at the Knicks and how they've played in this series, right? OG Anunoby dropped 29 points in game one, and then we kind of haven't seen an offensive explosion in a long time, right? He hasn't even been taking a ton of shots, if we're being honest. And then even Mikal Bridges, who was kind of coming off a rough game last night as well, who's had a pretty good series against the Celtics, but wasn't too solid. Again, if we go over some of those numbers from that game where the Celtics won 127 to 102, Mikal Bridges was a minus 25. He went 4 for 14 from the field. He finished with 9 points. OG finished with 6 points. So I imagine, you got to imagine they're going to shoot a little bit better in this game. And I thought they did a good job defending both of those guys. But again, at home, I imagine the home cooking is going to be a little bit more helpful. On the flip side, Josh Hart, besides the fact that he was bleeding through his eyes, he knocked down 5 of his 9 3-pointers. The Celtics clearly had a game plan going into game 5 where they were like, we're going to let Josh Hart shoot. All right, we're going to leave him open. We're going to make sure we're locking down everybody else. And then if Josh Hart, you're going to hit 5 threes, you're going to hit 5 threes. Now, law of averages would tell you he's not going to go 5 for 9 2 days in a row. So maybe Josh Hart's 3-point regressions, there's a 3-point regression a little bit, but I imagine OG and Mikal pick it up a little. Now, the Celtics, I think if they're able to hang tight here early in this game, if they are able to withhold, I imagine in the first quarter, even though the Celtics have done a good job winning the first half really before falling apart in the second half, if they're able to withstand the first blow from the Knicks, I do think there's going to be a real shot that they can steal Game 6 and force a Game 7. And I think it's because the Celtics just have a lot of options. They got a lot of offensive options. And I know when Tatum goes down, obviously that lowers the ceiling of this team. But they've been a very good, I think they're now 9 or 10-2 without Jason Tatum. And that's not, you're going to see nutso people on either social media or actual ESPN or Fox be like, are the Celtics actually better without Jason Tatum? No, they're not. They're not. That's a dumb take. It's a stupid take. Here, I know it's like fun to come up with these like tinfoil things so you can say it on a podcast. No, my hot take, it's better if you have your all NBA player. It's better. I think that's a better thing to have. So yeah, did the offense look a little bit cleaner in that one game? Yeah, of course. I promise you, the ceiling of the team is higher if Jason Tatum's on the court. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. Do I think the Celtics can force a Game 7? I do. I think if they can keep this game close, again, it's got to stay close though. I think the Knicks are going to feel it a little bit. I think the Knicks, because that pressure, and again, the Knicks have been so dominant in crunch time in so many of these games, right? Brunson, Captain Crunch, Captain Clutch, whatever you want to call him. I don't think it's called Captain Crunch, but we should call him that. Give him a little hat. Come on, let's make that their award, right? Instead of the Clutch Player of the Year and you get a trophy, give him like a trophy that's a Captain Crunch hat. I think that let's trademark that. And make some cash, huh? I think if it gets down to crunch time and the Knicks are staring down the barrel of a Game 7 in Boston, I think the nerves are going to be there. I think you're going to feel it in the Garden. You're going to feel the tension. You'll feel what the Celtics fans were feeling in Games 1 and 2, where it was like palpable in Boston, where it was like, are we really going to lose this game? That's where the Knicks are going to be looking at. Shout out the Red Sox Yankees, right? Remember that same thing. Like the second you start gaining momentum and all of a sudden you can feel, the players feel it, the fans feel it, the coaches feel it. It's like, oh my God, are we really going to lose 2 in a row to this team without their best player, and now we got to go back to their home court where we just lost by 20 plus? I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and say we're getting one more game. We're getting at least one more game. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to win the series because Game 7s are weird and they're gross, but I'm going to say we get at least one more Boston Celtics game after tonight's. Give us the W at home. I'm going to say we win. Let's call it out now. 104-98. And if this is right, we're rich. But that's going to do it. That's going to do it. Also, before we get out of here, the Denver Nuggets also just forced a game 7, which is going to be on Sunday. If the Celtics win game 6, we'll have a game 7 on Monday. A Sunday, Monday game 7? Oh, it's beautiful. I love this time of year. I love the NBA playoffs, and I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Do me a favor before you get out of here. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Leave a comment. Hang around. Hang around. Thanks for tuning in.